With a few notable exceptions, this world isn't very kind to the writer. It's an existence of nagging solitude and endless hours stretched out ahead of that which is yet to appear on paper. And the prevailing state of mind is one of normalized rejection and the regularity of self-doubt. Our story this time around illustrates the unfortunate truth that for the writer, the supernatural world can be even more diabolically unkind. Therefore, please accept this little interlude of literary deviltry called Something Strange in the Attic, which should come as no surprise in a place such as the Nightfall radio show. Looking back on everything after a number of years, I don't think that I can properly convey to you the depth of the regret I feel for being dismissive and cavalier, for ignoring the warning signs. You see, there's something strange in the attic. My attic, I mean. And I swear to you that it's nothing short of a nightmare made real. I didn't question why the house was so cheap. I mean, it wasn't a fixer-upper or anything. The wiring and the plumbing were both in good shape. The foundation was solid, and according to the inspector, the roof was in good shape. A couple of fresh coats of paint here and there, and as far as I was concerned, I was good to go. You see, despite a very popular misconception, making a living as a writer is a hell of a struggle. I'd put out 3 books in 4 years, and no less than 10 short stories for various anthologies. But I was driving a car that needed at least 2 of its tires replaced. The brakes were shot too, and believe me when I tell you, there's little charm and glamour in slugging cheap gin and soda at 2 in the morning while slugging away on a laptop keyboard. I often worked until well after sunrise. It was during these working hours, usually just after 3 a.m., that I first took notice of strange sounds. You know how it can be when it's late and the house is quiet? You can sometimes hear things that you would normally never notice during the bustle and activity of daylight hours. Initially, I chalked this all up to the normal clicks and creaks, and even to my own imagination and fatigue. But night after night the sounds returned, usually around the same time, just after 3. I wasn't really sure of the source, but it seemed to me that it was coming from inside the walls. I remember thinking to myself, great, just fucking great, I've got rats. But it wasn't rats. The exterminator that I called out, and really couldn't afford, found no trace of the troublesome rodents. After that, the noises increased. It had graduated to taps and scratching, almost as if something with claws was attempting to maneuver itself through the innards of the house. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out just what the hell was going on. I was becoming increasingly distracted from my work, and this eventually manifested into a level of stress, which was the last goddamn thing I needed. A few days later, I started picking up on a terrible odor. It seemed to be concentrated in the hallway. Now, by terrible, imagine the stench of an open sewer, in a landfill, and rotting meat, and then triple that. It became nearly impossible when the odor hit to keep anything in my stomach. It became more and more difficult to sleep, and nearly impossible to get any work done. Finally, whatever it was that was haunting me, and by the way, I had no problem in acknowledging that it was a haunting, but whatever it was seemed to only make noises directly overhead. Now let me get something straight here and now. I'm not some kind of badass that has no fear of the supernatural or the paranormal or whatever you want to call it. I was scared shitless, but I was also angry at whatever had committed this brazen violation of my life and in my space. I went down the hallway, reached up, grabbed the cord, and pulled down the ladder. Now, as I moved up the rungs, I could hear other sounds, including the sound of air moving around, almost like you would expect the sound of the wind to be outside on a blustery day. I could hear a swirling sound, and small pieces of debris were circling in the air around me. Then, on the far side of the room, I could see a figure, partially obscured in the darkness, and yet still somehow emanating a faint yellow light around itself. And I could hear the growing sound of maniacal laughter moving across the room. I was completely and totally horrified by that point. And then I got a better look at it. It was roughly human-shaped and appeared to be in a squatted or crouched position, almost like a frog or a toad, but with long, bony, sharp-clawed fingers. Its flesh, or what I took to be flesh, was a gruesome mottled amalgamation of pink, gray, and dark green. Its eyes were just empty black pits of nothing, but within them, I could sense an evil older than perhaps even time itself. That was it. I was finished. Fuck it. I literally slid down the ladder, bumping my knee halfway down. As I lifted the door to close it, I could still hear the thing up there taunting me with its fiendish cackle. I got online, found and reserved a U-Haul truck, packed my shit up, picked the truck up when they opened, loaded it, and got the hell out of there. Once I got on the road, I called the realtor, broke the lease, and when he tried to get stupid, I told him he could kiss my ass and sue me. That was 3 months ago. I'm renting a little place in town now, a second-floor flat. I sold a couple of stories last week to a publisher out of Chicago, so I can probably make rent this month and maybe even a steak this weekend. As for the new place, no weird noises, no terrible odors, and no raging demons. And you know why? No goddamn attic.